Right, so in this video, we're going to be talking through some of the market terminology that we will be encountering throughout the rest of the course. So there are various Forex and trading related terms that if you are a beginner, you may not have seen before. We did speak volume and volatility in the previous video, and I don't want to confuse anyone when we actually get into the learning. So before we actually do dive into that, before we dive into the course, we will talk about some of this market terminology. So there's not too much to discuss. There are a few things, a few different market jargon terms that we need to get familiar with. And here are a few of them. We'll start out from the top. So pips. Now, pips you'll hear quite a lot. This is actually how we measure profits. So it's how we measure changes in currency values. Now, in the next video, we are going to talk a little bit deeper into pips, and I'm going to show you how pips work and what one pip is, how to measure pips. But for now, just understand that pips are how we measure changes in currency values. So we've got long, which is a reference to a buy trade, okay? If we buy a market, we go long in that market. So when I say long, I mean we're buying a currency. Now, on the flip side of that, if I say short, that means we're selling a currency, okay? So we have long trades and short trades, and that is a buy trade and a sell trade. Important to get that out of the way because it's ingrained in my mind now. I'm often going to use the words long and short instead of buy and sell. So if you get familiar with that now, you're not going to get confused when I start talking about long and short. Now, it doesn't actually refer to times. So a long trade is not a trade that we're in for a long period of time. A short trade is not a short-term trade, okay? If we are talking about an intraday, well, a trade that happens within one day, that's going to be called an intraday trade, okay? So it's in intraday. When we say short, we are not talking about time frames. We're talking about the direction, which is a sell trade. So we also have got then confluence. Now, this is one that we need to talk about because I'm going to say it a lot. A confluence is a reason to enter a trade. Now, when I say we have one confluence, that means there's one reason to enter a trade. If I say we have multiple confluences, that means we've got multiple reasons to enter a trade. And we do need multiple confluences to actually enter a position. So that's what a confluence is. It's just simply a reason to enter or not enter a trade. So volume, we spoke about volume in the previous video briefly. As to not confuse anyone, volume is the market trading activity. So the amount of participants, the amount of active trades in a market. Volume and volatility come hand in hand. Now, when we've got high volume, we generally have high volatility. Volatility pretty much refers to price swings. So if we've got high volatility in a market, there are a lot of pushes up and down. If we've got low volatility, the market is generally moving sideways. So liquidity, very similar. Liquidity refers to orders in a market. Now, if I say we have liquidity somewhere in a market, that means there is a lot of orders waiting at that level. You're going to learn much more about this, but for now, think of liquidity as orders, okay? How many buyers or sellers are active in a market at a specific zone or level? And finally, a retracement. So this one, a retracement is a pullback in the overall trend in a market. So if we have a market that is going up overall, and then the market pulls back down temporarily, and then continues higher, that pullback down is a retracement. So that is essentially the basic Forex terminology that we need to talk about and need to get familiar with before we actually go into the course, just so you don't get confused when I do start talking about it. So in the next video, we're going to talk about what we trade and how we trade them, okay? Talk about currency pairs, the different directions that we can trade, and we will, of course, also talk about those pips. So I'll see you over in the next video.